What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Omega Greed YouTube channel, where we do a bunch of fun things with cars and we live inside the LA area, so we do videos around LA. In today's video, we're not inside LA. We are back inside Buffalo, New York. We drove all the way across the country. We did that video. If you haven't checked that video out, you can check that video out. We drove all the way back to our hometown, Buffalo, New York. I'm back actually right now in the park that I did a lot of my other videos inside of. So I'm really excited to be back here with the Jeep all the way from LA back here inside Buffalo. So this is kind of a cool feeling to be back here. But I want to tell you guys how the trip was. We did the video of driving here, but I do want to tell you guys how the trip was, how much we spent on gas, how, you know, just really how the trip was with a Jeep Wrangler across the country. If you guys are curious to see how it is to drive a Jeep Wrangler across the country, how is it with the Rubicon wheels and everything like that. So we're gonna get into that. Oh yeah, and by the way, guys, I know you can probably see there's a roof rack on inside the Jeep right now. Don't worry about that. I'm going to do a video on that. That was another thing that we installed that we're here back in Buffalo. But with all that stuff out of the way, let's jump into today's video because, hey, you're here to see how a Jeep did driving across country. So let's jump right into it. Okay, guys, so driving Jeep Wrangler across country, it was pretty okay. I will say we've done it before with the Veloster and my Focus RS. That was probably more uncomfortable than driving the Jeep Wrangler. Driving the Jeep Wrangler really wasn't all that bad at all, especially if you're used to driving Jeeps. It really wasn't that bad at all. I will say the only thing that I think was a little bit more challenging was when we went through like Denver and like some of the mountains areas. Obviously the handling capabilities of a Jeep Wrangler is not that great, so that was the only thing where we had to take it like really slow going through the mountains. We did that at night. I did all of that driving at night, so it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. Honestly, it was kind of happy it was like that late because there wasn't that many other cars around with me, so that was totally fine. That was like the only thing I would say would be like a negative complaint, is just the, you know, the handling capabilities. It is a Jeep, it's a square, put on big, you know, tires, and especially when it was loaded up pretty heavy. We had me, my fiance, and the 2 dogs, so yeah, it was pretty loaded up. We had, you know, some extra stuff inside here, so extra gear, so we were pretty heavy. I don't know what our payload was, but yeah, so obviously that's going to be like a big thing. We were just heavy, and yeah, we couldn't really like do too much of handling stuff like that. But though the good thing was, though, we were able to carry all of this stuff with us. You know, two people, 2 full-size dogs, all of our gear for enough stuff to last for 2 weeks, and food and stuff like that. We were able to drive across the country, handle and like carry all this extra equipment, and also we actually had enough room. We were able to put all this stuff inside the front seat, so someone could sit inside the back seat and completely take a full nap. So that was great. So as far as like camping and overlanding, obviously the Jeep is great, but yeah, like that was like a real positive thing about driving the Jeep. If you are used to driving more luxury cars, the Jeep just isn't going to be a luxury car. Obviously, if you're used to like driving like something like another like SUV, something like that, this is not going to quite be like that, or even something a little bit more like a Traverse or something that's kind of like unibody. It's not going to be that comfortable as that, only because this is still body on frame, and and also because of these solid axles, it's going to be a little bit more uncomfortable, I will say that. But if you are used to driving instead of a Jeep, I don't think it's going to be anything like worse. Like I wasn't feeling at the end of like, you know, driving, and we drove very far and very long hours. We literally drove, it was 40 hours completely total, and we did it like non-stop. So I don't think you're going to be like, I don't think that after like, you know, like 25 hours, I felt like more uncomfortable than I ever would feel just driving the Jeep, if that makes sense. So if you're used to driving inside of a Jeep, you're not gonna feel completely like overwhelmed by how like uncomfortable it's gonna get after so many hours. The other positive thing, though, we have the 2-liter turbo inside here, which I think did really well. Even up inside altitude, it did well. You know, overall it performed fine. Whenever I needed to pass, I was able to pass. Yeah, and you know, obviously these vehicles, they aren't race cars, but it has adequate enough power. I think it did well, and yeah, I really have no complaints over this 2-liter. I came from inside my old Jeep when I had the JK. It was a 3.8 liter. That thing was so slow, like so slow. It was unbearable. I never had the 3.6 liter Pentastar inside of a Jeep, so I've never felt what that would be compared to this. But I will say this 2-liter turbo feels fine. It's very peppy, actually. A lot of low end torque, which I really like a lot. Helps you get you off the line. And even when you're up at speed, I mean, the power comes on pretty low. So when you kind of like, you know, step on it, it gives you that instant torque. Obviously it falls on its face when it gets, you know, up inside the rev range, but it does have a pretty good amount of, you know, power just to like help you pass. You know, especially when you're weighed down a lot, that extra power is going to help you out, or the extra torque really will help you out. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think it did fine. Obviously, it's not going to like you're not going to be beating people on the highway, but it did totally fine. And then speaking of doing fine and everything like that, my fuel economy, which wasn't as great as what I wanted it to be. On our trip back, I'm going to reset the trip meter and try it again, but I believe my fuel consumption, or my miles per gallon, it equated out to be like 22 miles per gallon. It ought to be around 22 miles per gallon, maybe slightly lower than that. I think that's, for me, that's totally fine. That's pretty good, especially because we're instead of like a literal cube driving, you know, for that many miles. Driving optimally, obviously, at all, because I was going, you know, sometimes, you know, 80 plus miles per hour on the highway. And yeah, you know, so it did fine with that. But the actual total cost of driving across the country, I kept track of every time I stopped to get gas, how much it was going to be. We started inside LA. Gas out there is really crazy. The tank was almost empty. I filled it completely up when I was inside LA. That was like $75 or $76, something like that. When I filled it up, I forgot how much it was, like $4 something a gallon. Man, I know LA prices. But driving across the country, I kept track of every single time I got gas and everything like that. And the total cost was only, well, shouldn't say only, it was $476.87 driving across country. Because gas prices varied. It got cheaper in certain areas. We went the northern route, so we didn't go through Texas and Oklahoma, where gas is like really, really cheap, you know, relatively. But gas prices did fluctuate, so that's what we spent on just driving across the country. So thinking we're going to be spending that amount of money on driving back, that makes around that, you know, that makes sense. So like $900 or like $1,000 probably on gas going round trip, which you can get round trip tickets to drive. I mean, round trip tickets to fly, you know, right now, you know, $500, something like that, in that range. So for 2 people, that'll be about $1,000. So that's, you know, so right now it's like comparable. You can fly, which flying would be optimal, but we wanted to bring our dogs, and we wanted to bring a lot of gear, and we wanted to have our own car, and also we wanted to drive across the country, because how many times do you get to do that? Even though now we've done it twice. And that's the reason why I bought this vehicle, to be the overlanding, camping, and, you know, road trip vehicle. So, you know, when it comes down to it, it's pretty similar in price. You can, you know, it will be a lot easier to fly, but if you are curious about driving, that's how much it costs. And that's just straight driving. Yeah, so we didn't even stop at a hotel or anything like that. We literally went straight through, and yeah, we were able to save money doing that. So if you were to get a hotel and everything like that every night, it would, you know, it would extend your trip out more, and your cost would be more. So at that point, it probably would not be worth driving all the way across country. But if you're going on like a quicker, like, you know, road trip, you know, everything always varies from there. But I will say though, these seats though are totally fine. I really like these seats, actually. These are just the cloth seats. They feel fine. The stereo system inside the Jeep, it's great, absolutely great. I love the infotainment system with the Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. It works great. I had plenty of ports and everything like that, as you guys seen inside my other videos when I did some installs on some extra storage compartments, which you can check that video out. That helped out a lot. It has some extra storage behind the passenger seat, extra storage down here, extra storage inside my console. I was able to install this new phone mount, which is great. And yeah, the way I have all my wires ran, radar detector, I have my dash cam going. It made the vehicle very comfortable to drive and very like user friendly, and I really liked that. And I will say the driving position inside the Jeep Wrangler is great. You sit up high, it helps you feel like you can see the entire road. You can see what's coming up in front of you. It's just great. Like honestly, I think it, for all the complaints a lot of people give towards Jeeps, especially people who aren't used to driving Jeeps, truly and honestly, the vehicle did great. And I honestly think it makes a great road trip car. Yes, it's not quite as comfortable. You can get something else that have a lot more like luxury items, but there's something cool about driving a Jeep. I don't know what it is. It still is though. Even when you're driving slow, it's still fun driving a Jeep. So yeah, that's what I would say about if you want to drive a Jeep across the country. Yeah guys, hopefully this gave you guys a quick like look into what it was like driving the Jeep Wrangler across the country. I honestly loved it. It was a great trip. It was really fun. And yeah, we're going to do it obviously again because we got to drive back home. But while we're here in Buffalo, we're going to be doing more videos on this Jeep Wrangler. So stay tuned for that. So like that guys, I'm ending the video here. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you like this video, give it a like. Follow me on Instagram, OmegaGreed, same name as YouTube channel. Go to the website, geekswithcars.com. Like that, we're out here. See you in the next video. See ya.